Caitlin Clark fans back at it again, trying to keep Caitlin Clark from becoming a better basketball player. Blows my mind. Don't understand it. What am I talking about? Great question. We're going to get to that in a second. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all your support. Of course, hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. Hey, look, I think that first episode of the Caitlin Clark from Beyond the logo is going to drop probably Thursday, Friday, the weekend, something like that, but definitely by the end of the weekend. So hopefully you're looking forward to that. And we're going to talk about this. This is a topic that came up a while back and it's kind of circled back around because of some things that Steph Curry said to LeBron James, and some Fever fans have absolutely lost their minds. So we have to address this once again. Caitlin Clark fans point fingers at Fever amid Steph Curry training advice. A story Steph Curry shared about training potentially affecting his shot was Caitlin Clark fans calling the Indiana Fever out. So let's get into this. I'm gonna go. All that'll get covered when we go down, and we're gonna play the clip from Steph Curry and talk about some of the things that the Fever fans are saying because of it, and then we'll get to the truth. How does that sound? Oh, I think I scrolled all. Here we go. Let's go. Come on, where are you at? Where are you? Where are you at? Poor English. Don't do that. Okay, so here we go. Michael, I don't even think Michael watches the channel anymore because he tweeted hundreds of times about this and just was driving me crazy, and I had to I had to answer back. So it was nothing personal, Michael. I like your stuff, man, but anyway, Caitlin Clark fan, Steph Curry talking about how his coach snapped at his training staff. Yes, we'll talk about that, coach. When lifting weights, he talks about being careful not to change too much and impact how your body moves. Pay attention, Indiana Fever, please. Okay, this is about, I think, a minute and a half. We'll listen to
They're
this.
told to put on weight or they're told to put on strength,
Yeah,
and it can affect their shot.
yeah.
And it's actually, there's no way it could have made it better. But shit, it seems like nothing ever changed. How was that? Like, did that worry you in the beginning? Like, oh shit, y'all tell me I got to get stronger now.
Funny story. So like
Yeah.
my rookie year in training camp, so I came in as a shooter in the draft. But Don Nelson was my coach, and going through training camp, summer league started. I think I probably shot like low 30s from three in summer league. And then you're coming into training camp, a couple months later, like still working, getting through, trying to get comfortable with where shots are coming from. And Don Nelson, he went in the weight room because, to your point, I came in 180 pounds maybe. They're trying to get me in the weight room, doing all these lifts and stuff. I'm shooting like trash in training camp like the first week. He walked in there and cussed out everybody in the room. It was like, y'all killing the shot. He's lifting too much weight. And to me, I didn't know that as a concept because I always just want to get stronger. Like most of it was just vanity. Like, hey,
I was better in Jersey. All these mirrors around here. Y'all tell me I got to look like this. I'm trying to
pop. Like, give me something. But I didn't even think about it in terms of shot. I know that there's a range of like body composition that matters to making sure everything moves right. So if you're doing a big transformation, you can't change how your body moves. I never thought I could get to that point, but then when he called it out, I was like, wait, are they really messing up my shot? But that balance of being able to appropriately get your body to move efficiently, like a lot of it, to me, is core strength. Like if we're talking specifics, everything's about the foundation. Like how does your body move through that?
Okay, for a lot of things to unpack here. First of all, Don Nelson. For those who don't know, Don Nelson, not a young guy, even when he was Steph Curry's coach. He goes way back. For those of you that don't know, there was actually a time when athletes didn't do any strength training, and the prevailing wisdom that was 100% wrong, a phrase that was used a lot was muscle bound, right? If you lift weights, it's going to mess up whatever your skill set is. You're going to get muscle bound, you're going to get tight, you're going to get inflexible. All that is complete lie. It is a lie. It is not true. It certainly does not affect athletes when they are training properly. So best examples I can give you are MMA fighters. You could go, I mean, probably one of the biggest in terms of if you're talking movies as well. So you know would be Jean-Claude Van Damme, who'd love to do the splits in his movies, but also the ones that involve an incredible amount of strength, not just flexibility. And that's say like doing a split between two chairs. I think in Time Cop when the floor was going to be electrified or something, he jumped up and I think it was like he put one foot on a fridge and another on a countertop, in a complete split, which is the amount of not just flexibility, but the amount of strength in that. And then, of course, you look at MMA fighters nowadays, right? And they're all incredibly flexible. And if you look at a lot of them, they're also muscular and built and incredibly strong. And they all train with weights, and they're all explosive, and they're all fast. And so there's just a whole lot of let me say misinformation, a whole lot of things that have go back 60 and 50, 60, 70 years, and still a lot of people believe it and feel this way, and it's simply not true. Um, the whole 2024 storyline was and I'm going to get into that in a little bit. She needs to get stronger because this is a physical league and she needs to defend herself. What damn fools everyone was for buying that. Yeah, I'm sorry. Chill Crypt, again, completely wrong. And I'm going to explain that in a minute. Mag for Justice had it. I thought that before the season started. Too much muscle, too fast. Like this is, I'm sorry, but y'all, but this is my wheelhouse. This is what I do for a living. I train athletes. Not, this is all completely incorrect. Completely incorrect. None of this is true. The foundation of athleticism is strength. Okay, the foundation of everything is strength. You don't blink your eyes without it. You don't get up out of a chair without it. Okay, now obviously you don't need quite that much strength for it. As you get older, you lose strength. That's It's not just getting older that makes people struggle to get out of chairs. It's because they don't do anything to maintain their strength. And once you hit 25, if you're not doing anything to maintain or add, you slowly start losing it over time. I'm just saying. It's 100% the team staff fault for her injury. She had been a fully healthy athlete since her teenage years until her rookie year, and suddenly they have her lifting and gaining muscle. I believe Caitlin Clark was gaining before that. And what happens? For the first time in her life, she is injured, not with one, two, but three injuries. Yeah, didn't have anything to do with the strength training or the muscle. Um, oh, that's that same tweet. Okay. By the end of her rookie year, she already put on enough muscle. She didn't. She wasn't. She actually weighed less at the end of her rookie year than she did at the beginning. That happens to a lot of athletes. I don't know why they overdid it. It's the muscle gains, but nobody wants to accept because I'll be acting like geniuses about human anatomy. Zanius, guess what? Well, I don't want to say genius, but again, it is my wheelhouse, and you are 100% completely wrong. Now, I will say from everything. Now, I can't say with conclusive because it's not fair because I am not there specifically to see what is being done. But from the outside, I would say yes. After the fact, I sort of agree with this next one that they didn't necessarily manage her injury properly. They certainly didn't manage the PR aspect of it in terms of what they kept telling us about Caitlin Clark's injury. If Steph Curry is saying it, then there does seem to be some validity that adding too much muscle too quickly is risky. No, not necessarily. Some of the things Steph Curry said wrong in this whole idea. First of all, if you notice, if you go back and pay attention, and a lot of people do this. They conflate strength and muscle, and they aren't the same thing. You can add a lot of strength without adding muscle or very little muscle. Again, look at MMA fighters, look at power lifters, especially, right? They have weight classes, folks. Okay. And yet they're getting a lot stronger within their weight class. So that, and Steph was doing that a little bit, talking about, and also we're talking about his rookie year and summer league, and he's just training then. There was no time to add so much strength or so much muscle that it was going to change his shot. That's absolutely absurd. If you're continuing to work on your skill set and you are weight training to add strength, you are not going to mess up your shot. I think where a lot of people get that, and I've seen it at times, is for any of you that have done it, if you lift weights, like say you're, and especially if you're actually not lifting for strength, but you're lifting light and you're lifting, you're getting that pump, you do an arm workout and then go shoot a basketball. Yeah, it feels weird, right? Because you got all that blood flushed into those muscles and you're all kind of pumped up, but that's not how you normally are. But yeah, so this is crazy. So let's talk about this a little bit. First of all, Steph Curry did get bigger. As I just said, you can get a lot stronger without adding muscle. Caitlin added like 8 pounds, folks. Do you understand how minimal that is? It is absolutely nothing to add 8 pounds. It doesn't change anything in terms of how you move. It doesn't change anything until in terms of your skill set in a sport. You wouldn't even notice it if people didn't put out those images. And by the way, here's an interesting one for you, the optical illusion. I've done this. I don't have any handy. I don't even know if I have any in this computer, but I've shown people where you can see pictures, before and after pictures of people where they weigh less in the after, but they look like they weigh more and they look bigger even though they're not because they're leaner. And it's an optical illusion. The leaner you get, the more ripped or women like say toned that you get, the bigger that you look, even though you may not be bigger, even though you may weigh less. Okay. But 8 to 10 pounds is absolutely nothing. Strength, speed, athleticism. Strength is the number one indicator of athleticism. It is the foundation of athleticism. The number one thing people look at, anyone who actually knows what they're doing in terms of sports performance and trainers and so forth, is your vertical leap. That says a lot about how athletic you are, how explosive you are, how quick you are. That is the found that ability to put force into the ground, which takes strength and then power. That is a great indicator of your athleticism, okay? And it's not the same thing. You train a little differently than you would for muscle. I won't go into a lot of detail on that, but there's a lot of things that go into proper strength training. The volume of it matters, the intensity of it matters, SAID, which is specific adaptation to impose demands, matters, frequency matters. Recovery matters, and recovery is a part of training, is not something that's separate from training. Progressive overload, which is important, also matters. And then, of course, you have mobility and flexibility. Those are all part of a strength program, okay? Those are not separate things. Those are things that should be included with a strength training program, okay? And by the way, those strength training, if you want to minimize risk, you need to be on a proper strength training program. And you can do a lot of specific things. I know someone who specifically works with athletes on ACL prevention, and I include a lot of those very same exercises and mini routines within programs I use for athletes in order to minimize the risk of an ACL tear. Okay. And the only way you do that is with strength training. Okay. That is how it works. Proper strength training is the best thing you can do for injury prevention for athletes. Proper strength training is the best thing you can do for improved athletic performance. And oh, by the way, it makes you quicker, not slower, like I just mentioned, that vertical leap, because that also translates when you're a basketball player, your lateral movement, right? The way you're pushing off your foot, you're putting force into the ground. That is what gives you that that ability and that quickness and that explosiveness. You look at sprinters, ever slow-mo an elite sprinter off the starting block and see how far they get. They actually have both feet in the air for a long time because of that push off the block, which comes from the force they can produce for their vertical leap. I'll read you a couple things real quick. These are for a couple athletes I train, a couple of soccer players. I had a meeting with my college coach before winter break because I wanted to find out what I could do to make a bigger impact. He told me I needed to get stronger. I'm pretty small and have a tendency to get knocked off the ball by bigger players, and he wanted me to get faster and more explosive over 10 to 15 yards. My dad, who's also a coach, recommended that I work with Coach Greg, that's me, um, over the break. In just 7 weeks, Coach Greg helped me accomplish my goals. I'm faster to the ball, so she's more explosive because we're talking about short distances, right? She's quicker and much stronger in my core, so I win more 50-50 chances and I don't get knocked off the ball nearly as much as I had before. Because of the program, my confidence has skyrocketed, and so has my coach's confidence in me. As a result, my playing time has increased dramatically. I highly recommend Coach Greg. So that, by the way, what she was on, and there are other things you do for, agility and change of direction and that sort of thing, but I had her on a strength training program, and now she is a better athlete because of it, and that translates to better performance in her sport. Here's another one. I was working with a keeper on her way to college. Um, you know, Working with Coach Greg is one of the best decisions I've made in terms of my individual development. I have better touch. She's a soccer player, right? Better conditioning. I'm much more confident on the ball, but I've also used him for my strength training. I've already made incredible strides in my strength and power. Now I'm quicker, more explosive, and getting to balls I didn't get to in the past as a keeper. And again, that's the vertical leap. That's the force production into the ground. I can't recommend working with him enough. In 12 weeks, we took that vertical jump of hers from 10.75, 10 and 3/4 inches to 19 and a quarter inches. Think of what that does for a goalkeeper or, by the way, a basketball player, right? When you have that extra ability, that strength to put that force production into the ground, you are quicker. You go further with each step, whether it's not just about jumping straight up, it's about your quickness and your explosiveness. So, look, man, I mean, I don't know exactly what they're doing, and there is a difference because I've heard people say this before when I say a proper strength training program, then they're like, ah, aha. But you don't know the program the fever is. And what people are doing here is saying it's the strength training or it's she bulked up too much. God, 8 pounds is nothing, man. I can put that on in a week and a half if I want to, obviously if I'm not at peak. And I'll give you a great example. I'll close with an example with me. I just like I got to the point where I just like to mess around with what I can do physically with my body in a certain time, whether I'm working for, a certain strength team, like strength goal, like the powerlifting, or I'm trying to add as much muscle as possible or get as lean as possible. I went from 160 to 217 at one point, and it was all muscle. I mean, I got started getting accused of the, hey, are you using a certain something something to bulk up? Because I as a more of an endurance natural my natural build is more endurance, right? Like I'm more of a leaner type person, like Caitlin Clark. So it was a shock for a lot of people. But I was also continuing to play basketball, and I was continuing to play soccer. It didn't do anything to my skill set. There was nothing in terms of my movement that was going to cause injuries. I wasn't moving differently because I was continuing to do my other things. I was continuing to work on my mobility and continuing to work on my flexibility and work on my dribbling and work on my shooting and work on all of these things that is part of the sport that you play as well, right? Strength training is something you do to improve what you're doing with your sport, but you don't strength train for a year and not do anything to improve your skill set in your sport. Michael Jordan, I was gonna say last thing, but I do want two other quick things. Michael Jordan was famous for weight training, and Michael Jordan, when he entered the league to when they won their first of six championships, had added about 20 pounds of solid muscle. Do you think that affected Michael Jordan? Did that make Michael Jordan slow? Did that make Michael Jordan injury prone? Or did that make Michael Jordan, who was already a world-class athlete, an even better athlete? Well, I'll answer that for you. Thank you for asking. It made him a much better athlete. Okay. And to go back with Don Nelson again, because you know what, I had this with my dad as well, because it took a long time. And again, some people still believe this. My older brother was a basketball player as well, and he started lifting in high school. My dad like flipped out because he was all hard. I mean, he changed over time, he changed his opinion, but he was hardcore at the time of the whole, athletes shouldn't lift weights. It makes you tight and inflexible and muscle bound. It's going to mess you up, right? So he was mad when he got kind of. My brother's 9 years older. When it got to me a little bit, he had kind of gotten past that. But my brother hurt a lot when it came to lifting weights. In fact, this guy named Bill Starr, who was huge name in the strength training world and for athletes. He was one of the first people to work with world-class athletes. He worked with, I can't remember his name, but he worked with a guy with the Indianapolis Colts back in the 60s. And over in the off season, he put over 50 pounds of muscle, jacked up like all his lifts big time and everything. The guy went from like 212 to 265 or something like that. And guess what? He was a better athlete and a better football player. He was quicker, he was faster, he was more explosive, right? All of those things that people are, oh my God, 8 pounds, 8 pounds. The dude put like 53 pounds on over an off season. Okay. Um, Jalen Hurts, the quarterback for the Eagles, the man can squat over 600 pounds. It hasn't made him slow, folks. It hasn't made him slow. I'm just saying. But anyway, so I just wanted to put this out there because I mean, I think some of you find this kind of interesting. I know I find it interesting, and I just want to get it out there because so many people with certain things, like you'll see something like this, and then like you saw with the ones I was reading a lot, people pile on and just, oh yeah, too much muscle, and you just sort of absorb it, and then when the topic comes up, that's your belief system as well. All of a sudden, you've sort of adopted it without doing any sort of critical thinking for it, and we all do it, right? I mean, I'm guilty of it. My dad's very smart man, and like I said, he came around, but initially because that's what he was hearing from everyone is, oh, athletes shouldn't do it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Go have the day you deserve, and I will talk to you later.